I didn't know anything about IMAX.
Wait, you were in The Dark Knight though?
I know.
Wait. No, it's a euphoric feeling. Watching images that big when it's your own images.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Can you talk a little bit about your process for working with actors?
With Jessie, I would call things out to her. I never did it to Christian. And then one day he was like, "Hey, can you yell at me too?"
You're watching and listening to In Proximity. I'm Paola Mardo, and today we've got Maggie Gyllenhaal and Ryan Coogler. As you already know, Ryan Coogler is the writer, director, and producer of Sinners and the founder of our production company, Proximity Media. Today, I had the pleasure of welcoming Ryan back onto the show for a conversation with Maggie Gyllenhaal, the actress, producer, director, and screenwriter. As an actress, Maggie is known for films such as Secretary, Crazy Heart, and the cult classic Donnie Darko, which also starred her brother Jake. And she was also in the HBO TV series The Deuce and one of Ryan's favorite movies, The Dark Knight, directed by filmmaker and friend of the pod, Christopher Nolan. Maggie's directorial debut was The Lost Daughter, which she also wrote the screenplay for. In the film, Olivia Colman plays a professor who spends a seaside vacation in Greece and becomes consumed by a young mother played by Dakota Johnson, and also her memories of her own young motherhood with her younger self played by the actress Jessie Buckley. Jessie also stars in Maggie's new film, The Bride, which is a wild and imaginative new take and continuation of the classic Frankenstein story, inspired by the 1935 film Bride of Frankenstein and the original novel by Mary Shelley. The cast is incredible and includes Christian Bale as Frankenstein himself, Penelope Cruz, Annette Bening, her husband Peter Sarsgaard, and her brother again, Jake Gyllenhaal, who, fun fact, she directs in this film for the first time. It was a real honor joining Maggie and Ryan in a filmmaker deep dive into their process as writers and directors, working with IMAX cameras, working with family on set, and making coffee. And for the film heads out there, I highly recommend you check out the classic films Frankenstein and The Bride of Frankenstein. It was a real treat to dive into those two films before this conversation and before seeing Maggie's new film, The Bride. Enjoy. Welcome Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Thank you.
And Ryan Coogler to In Proximity. Ryan, what are we doing today on this special episode?
We here to celebrate Maggie in celebration of your second feature film, The Bride, that's about to come out soon. I had a chance to watch, Paul had a chance to watch. I'm gonna talk about it a little bit, but first, I'm gonna make you some coffee. It happened because Tara, our head of marketing, suggested it for our episode with Michael B. Jordan. I usually make the cash coffee whenever we working, whenever I can, so figure I'll do something for you today. This is a V60 setup, so I'm gonna do you a pour over. We'll drink that.
Pour over, you said?
Yeah, I'm about to grind.
Great.
This is gonna be loud.
Great. What kind of coffee do you usually drink?
Man, I do it all. Like right now, it's usually this. Like I'm usually making myself a pour over in the morning. This is from Red Bay in Oakland. So got these sent down pretty bad.
What do you drink on set?
Oh man, like I start off usually with a black coffee in the morning. Usually from Crafty. Amar is here. He could tell you probably how it goes. And depending on the day, you know, it goes down from there. You know, I'm drinking way too much when I'm filming on a day shoot. It's probably 3 cups.
That's
on
not
an overnight.
That's not that much.
Like big cups. Yeah. like the big travelers.
I'm pretty sure you guys drink all kinds of different coffee, depending on the day, I'm guessing, or the need.
Yeah.
When you guys are on set, do you have a particular coffee order?
I'll be honest with you. I drink a black coffee to start, and then like I said, when I'm cutting, I usually drink a black coffee to start, and then like in the afternoon, maybe some kind of latte if I need a snack. Too much coffee and I feel kind of like tweaky. Like,
Yep.
I don't know.
That's the exact feeling I'm going for.
Like those moments when you're shooting at night, I don't know if you have this, but I do, where you're like, I don't, how am I gonna go on?
Yeah.
You know, like that time you hit that gets a little trippy, like 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, huh.
Especially those first 2 or 3 nights.
Yeah, or 11.
How many did you guys do on The Bride?
We did a lot of nights on The Bride.
Yeah.
But I really wanted to split them up. I didn't want to go like full chunk of nights and chunk of days. I wanted to try to like go into splits and then a couple days, you know, of nights if I could. I just feel like it's more sane.
Yeah.
How about you?
I mean, we were dealing with a lot of nights, but we ended up with more nights because of weather.
Right.
So we ended up doing the dreaded nighttime inside.
Oh yeah, we did too.
Because we got flipped around.
We did
pretty
too.
Good.
Can I ask about that? What is nighttime inside, for those who don't know?
You know, on movies, you work, 10 to 12-hour days. And you usually want, it's a lot of union rules with transportation and actor turnaround, crew turnaround. So if you work a traditional 12-hour day, like we do in the States, with the turnaround, your schedule slides. And so you might start off on a Monday with a 7 a.m. crew call, and by Friday, you could be at like 10 or 11,
Gotcha. Yep.
And then you add 12 to that, and you were going home on Monday, you were going home at 7 o'clock, come Friday, you're going home at like midnight,
Wow.
and it starts to eat into your weekend, and when you have to do night photography, you want to make sure it's absolutely necessary for the visuals that you have, if that makes sense. So you never want to be shooting nighttime when you're inside and you can't see that it's dark outside, but sometimes the schedule gets manipulated in a way where it just happens, and we got bit like that on Sinners. But we ended up doing some great work, but yeah, it's tough because you living like a vampire, you know what I mean?
Literally.
Kind of perfect for you. It's the same with us. Christian Bale had 6 hours of makeup. So if we ever had which is unusual for someone who's in almost everything, it's I think the realness of his look that took so long. Like if he wanted to look more like a monster mask, I think it would have been easier, but like making it look so natural is what really took the time. But because of that, if ever there was a sequence like the one in the ballroom where he's in everything, our days, if he had 5 or 6 hours of makeup, just kept getting pushed later and later and later. So by the end, we were doing the same thing. Night inside, you call it. Where like we were shooting inside, there was no reason why we had to be shooting all night, but we were finishing at like 5 o'clock in the morning.
Oh man.
Yeah.
How is it, Ryan?
Not bad. Yeah, not bad. It's smooth.
And what's special about pour over?
I think you taste the coffee a little bit more. It's more control, and then it's a little bit more ritualistic. So it kind of calms me down. Like when I'm feeling anxious in the morning and a lot to do. It used to take 3 to 3.5 minutes. So it's like a quick little meditation type of situation. That recipe doesn't yield a ton of coffee, so it's not full. It's usually like 2 full cups.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
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 Thank you. Cheers to you. Smooth.
Yum.
All right. Cool.
Great.
Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Here we are, Maggie and Ryan. Thank you for the coffee. It's keeping us fueled and caffeinated. I feel like I gotta hold it up like this. Ryan, you mentioned earlier, you and I just saw The Bride. You just saw it very recently as well. You wanna kick us off?
Yeah, like the big one I always say is like why? Like why this story for your second one? Haven't seen it, I can kind of draw some parallels between this and Lost Daughter type of literary adaptation of sorts. Why is this your second feature film?
I think I'm interested, I was really when I started working on this too, like what's monstrous outside of us, but also what's monstrous inside of each of us. I guess I also thought, what about a woman monster? I guess I was interested in also just the idea of the Bride of Frankenstein, right? I had only thought of like this Elsa Lanchester with the amazing hair but this idea of Frankenstein, who in the book and in all the old movies he's violent and he does horrible things, but he's also gentle and really smart and so lonely. And like in the book, the whole thing he wants, once he gets able to say what he wants, is to not be alone. So it's fair enough for him to say, please, someone help me, but please dig up a woman from the ground who doesn't know what you're doing and bring her back to life so she can be my girlfriend. I think you have to ask what about her,
Right,
And that's
right.
what I think the movie's asking that. What about her? And then on top of it, there is a character who is dead, and she has a whole lot more that she wants to say. And I think she thinks that some of it is too monstrous, too big, too much. She says in the beginning to even think it, let alone say it out loud.
I find that really interesting because the original Bride of Frankenstein film, spoiler alert, she shows up at the very end. It's called Bride of Frankenstein, but she shows up at the very end of the film and she doesn't even speak.
No.
And yet in your film, you made her speak.
Yeah.
Let her speak, made her speak.
Yeah. Allowed her to
speak.
Yeah.
You really created her character in a lot of ways because we only saw, even though she's so iconic, the look of her in the 1930s film. We didn't really know who she was. She didn't really get a chance. She didn't have agency.
It's called The Bride of Frankenstein, but it's not The Bride of Frankenstein. I hadn't seen the movie. Just to say, I was thinking about what I wanted to do. I saw this guy at a party who had a huge tattoo of The Bride of Frankenstein on his forearm, his whole forearm. And I was like, oh yeah, her, right. What is that? Went back, looked her up on the internet, and then I was like, I gotta watch that movie. Watch the movie, and I was like, she's not in it.
Mm-hmm.
She's in it for 2 minutes.
Right.
And she literally does not say one word.
Yeah.
But she's kind of amazing. She wakes up from this weird experiment that she has nothing to do with, and even though she doesn't say no, she's definitely giving no.
Yeah, she screams, right?
She screams, and she says, she's basically saying, what the fuck is going on? And especially in 1936, that must have been a kind of radical thing for a woman to do.
So let's talk about the bride, your actor, Jessie Buckley. She played Mary Shelley as well as Ida and the Bride of Frankenstein herself. She was a badass.
Yeah.
So how do you actually come up with that character in the writing process? Because in the original film, she doesn't speak. We see her at the very end of Bride of Frankenstein, even though the film is called that.
Yeah.
And in your film, you not only give her a voice, you give her agency.
Yeah.
What went into the writing process and creating that character and also working with Jessie?
I really let myself write this very much kind of from an unconscious place. There was a moment where it was set in 1870s after the Civil War. At that time, lots of people were speaking to the dead. There was a whole job called being a spiritualist and mostly it was women who had to make money somehow after the men in their life had been killed. And I liked this idea of, okay, there's people being brought back from the dead. Maybe I'll set it then. And then it shifted and became the 30s when I realized I wanted Frankenstein to be so lonely that the only relationship in his life was with someone on a movie screen. So then I just kind of let it flow and went wherever it was going. And then the weird stuff of I would prefer not to. I couldn't even remember. That comes from a Melville story. And I was like, I know that's from a book, but what book? I just kind of let it all flow. I don't know if you're like that or if you outline or, how do you do it?
I'm similar to where you were saying it's more unconscious.
Yeah.
Until I zero in on the thing, and then I outline.
Yeah.
So it's for me it's like an hourglass.
Yeah.
You know, like that shape where it's like unconscious, and in the moment of the outline is where it gets tight.
Right.
And then in writing the script, making it and editing it, it widens out again. If that makes sense.
Totally.
Directing is in there somewhere. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, but I love the idea of this relationship that he has with this star. But it was so interesting to see Jake, you know, as this movie star that he connects to. Like I'm curious, like how you settled on that.
Well, I think if you're gonna look at the monstrous aspects and, you know, like, I guess I really believe we all have them. I don't think it's just me, you know? And so that is completely at odds with like fantasy movie world.
Right.
You know,
right.
where the biggest problem is that I just can't seem to get this door open or whatever, you know, from like a 30s comedy.
Yeah.
Like those two things don't totally go together. Even if you're like, start to get older and go like, wow, my love, which is deep and important to me, doesn't look like totally like the love that I've seen in films. Also, like, you know, my experience is also that like so few movies were directed by women that there was an aspect where I'm like, oh wow, that experience that I've seen in all the movies I've watched my entire life is like kind of like my experience. Not exactly, but I'll just do a little like, I'll do a little translation and then I'll be able to fit myself into it, right? But so I guess I was interested in the difference between the fantasy movie experience, which actually I love those 30s movies. I love them. And I did a lot of research on them for the movie and watched with my daughters, and I was like delighted and love the clothes and love the dancing and love the lighting and love the sets and like, but the monstrous parts of me don't fit in there. And so I liked the like frisson that created. And then to ask Jake, who is just a beautiful singer and so beautiful, you know, his heart, his face, his everything,
oh my God.
You know, to be Ronnie Reed, the
Hollywood matinee idol.
Exactly.
Who Frankenstein, played by Christian Bale, is basically idolizes and he loves his movies and he's a huge
and not
fan.
only idolizes, but I think fantasizes that he has a relationship with him.
Yeah.
That they're dear friends, you know, walking through life together. But to ask Jake to do that, who is both beautiful in so many ways and also in touch with the monstrous in himself. I know it. He's my brother, so I know him. I just thought worked.
Sinners and The Bride both have extraordinary casts, and it's very clear that you both care a lot about your actors. Can you talk a little bit about your process for working with actors, especially on these two films?
Yeah. Well, I don't know about you, but one interesting thing is having been an actress for so long, I've worked with so many directors. And you haven't worked with any, probably. You know?
Zero.
Right.
I mean, I produced for him.
Right.
Like I worked.
Right.
I worked for directors as a producer.
Right.
You know, like but even then, it's a limited number.
Right.
But you.
I've worked with so many.
Yeah.
And
incredible ones.
Yes, incredible ones. Ones that were more difficult. Ones that were like gifts to me. You know, all sorts of things. And one thing I know, having been the person who's not ultimately the one in power, is just how valuable freedom is, you know, and to feel heard and to feel seen and to feel, actually, honestly, to feel loved. Because I think I think it's harder to be a director, no question. It is a way harder job.
So?
Really?
Yes, but I think it's just kind of, it's wild what actors do. And so valuable, and it does need to be protected with love and freedom, you know. So what I learned on The Lost Daughter, though, was because I was so excited with all my thoughts and ideas about like how I'm going to help the actors get to their place and what, you know, that like, and I love, this is my favorite thing, I think, is that each actor needs to be spoken to in a completely different way. And you don't know what it is until you meet them, you know?
Yeah. I like to say, I live in a house, like my my producer, my wife, she's bilingual, really sneakily trilingual, but she won't admit to one.
What are the three?
She speaks American Sign Language. That's what she went to school for.
Oh, wow.
So she was an interpreter for over a decade. And then her mom speaks Visayan, which is a dialect of Tagalog. And she understands that too. You know, I think she can speak it, but she never caught to it. But you know, and then obviously she got English. Like for me, I barely got English, you know. but
Not true.
But when it comes to like being on a set,
Yeah.
especially if you got a sizable cast, if that's my time to feel like multilingual, you know what I mean? Because they all got their own.
And to
languages.
hold them all in your head, like the way you hold your kids.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, okay, Christian's over here doing this, and Jesse's here, and Penelope's over there, and Peter's there. Okay, I'm put Peter down for a second. He's good. But you know, and how you're holding everyone and their needs, and I do think being a parent really trained me for that. But Jessie, okay, so what I realized is there were things, if I said to Olivia Colman, some of the trippy shit I say to Jessie, Olivia Colman would be like, Maggie, stop, what? But Jessie, I speak to just as if I were speaking to myself.
That's brilliant.
And it goes in like water for her, I can tell, you know, and Jessie, I think of, a couple people have asked me, because we've worked together before, like, is Jessie my muse? And I think it's not a respectful enough word for what Jessie is to me. And I know you have long-term also relationships like with Michael, but I think that she's a partner, you know? And I think when I was an actress, I wanted so much to feel like I was an artistic partner. And some people let me feel that way and asked for my mind to be a part of the work, and some people didn't.
You prefer it to be?
I want everyone's mind. You know, I'll be able to go like, okay, cool, I just need a little more of this and maybe a tiny bit less of this.
But I mean, like when you were acting, you preferred to be included in that process.
Yeah, like I was doing the part because I also had something to say with it. And maybe like you hadn't thought of that. And maybe it's a gift to you for me to offer my mind to the, you know, project. But so anyway, Jessie's mind is all over this. And I really hope it's true for all of my, I mean, incredible actors in this movie. Like of course, like casting is so major.
Get asked about the trippy shit you were talking about?
Yeah,
Just
sure.
because like a lot of our audience, you know, they're filmmakers, they're young creatives, they aspire to do what you guys are doing and make films in IMAX. What is your trippy directorial advice that you give?
One thing I learned as an actress is don't share what's getting you where you're going with anybody. I mean, I will share with you because I'm not acting right now, and I mean, I haven't in a long time. But like, I remember I had this incredible teacher who is dead now, but yeah, she was an old woman when she died, but really, really taught me a lot. And I remember her giving me a note in The Honorable Woman, this TV show that I did, where she said, I think you might be 100 years old in this scene and tripping on mushrooms. I was like...
That's incredible.
Yeah, but
That's an incredible note.
If I had told, and I wasn't, I was just 35 or whatever and not tripping on mushrooms, and I took the note and I took, you know, I had just written it in my script and I just tried like playing around with that, being 100 years old and tripping on mushrooms. If I had told that, now that director might have been okay, but if I had told that to like really kind of almost any other director, they would have been like, don't do that, you know? And so that's what I mean. Like if I said to Jessie, she can take that and consume it in a way that just only frees her and opens her up. You know, and some people want something more literal, and some people want one note at a time, and some people will take 6 and just see what falls off them. You know, how about you? I'm curious to know how you work with actors.
I came up doing short films, and like, you know, in film school, and you know, we were doing copy credit meal.
What's that?
You know what that is?
Yes. So he's talking about copy credit meal when you're working on a student film or a low budget film, and you're looking for actors and you're casting actors. Sometimes you can offer a copy credit and meal instead of payment, right? So they get a copy of the film, they get a credit on the movie, and you give them a meal.
We had a SAG contract at USC, so we could work with SAG actors, but it was, we were working with folks that was, down to do a student, do a student movie and not get paid. And these movies, 90% of them, maybe a higher percentage, they just kind of were in academic circumstances. Maybe every once in a while one might go to a festival. And so you're working with actors of varying calibers and your short film is the most important thing in your life at the moment. You know what I mean? So I was actually, used to and I was new to working with actors and I was young. So I was given a lot of verbiage.
Right.
And what I didn't realize was generally the better the actor, like the less they would want.
Right.
And I was, so it was work to be had, but I was finding my way. And when I did FRUITVALE, I was working with Mike, Mel Diaz, bunch of great actors, but we had Octavia Spencer. And I'll never forget, we were in my aunt's house. My uncle actually just passed a few days ago. We were in my aunt's house, and she had to do the scene where she gets the call that her son's been shot. And that she got the call from his his partner, and she's not with his body. They took him away in the ambulance. She doesn't know what's going on, just that he got shot. And she's waking up in the middle of the night on what was her birthday. And I'm working with Octavia, who's this brilliant actress, and I'm talking to her, working through the scene, and I don't feel like we've gotten it just yet. And she says to me, hey, let me do one where I just work through it on my own. And I'm like, all right, cool. I go outside and I watch it on the monitor because it was in such a small house that's where I had to be, and it was perfect. Absolutely perfect. And I just realized, I lost all this time. You know what I mean? Like I should have did that first. And then if that didn't work, then talk. So that taught me to just see what the actor has first. And then receive that, react to that, and then maybe we talk about it. And that changed my changed my everything.
Wow.
That moment there with Octavia. And it's been like that for me since. Like I'm constantly. It's a little bit like dancing, or like I want to see what your rhythm is. How much you need. Right. And it's get in, get out. Unless I get in and you grab me. You know what I mean? Right. Then I'm good to because I can talk.
And also like I think like Jessie, she and I had worked together. We started shooting the Ida stuff, so the whole like first opening sequence, which was really intense, right?
Yeah,
and
the dinner.
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, where is this going?
Yeah, I know. But that was really intense. And so she and I were just like immediately back into working mode. And I would, with Jessie, now I would not do this with everybody, I would call things out to her as she was working.
While camera's rolling?
Yes. Wow. I do look at the monitor, and I didn't think I would be the director that looks at the monitor, but I need to. I can't imagine, this is this lens and this is this frame. I need to see it, and it makes such a difference. But I had the little one that you can look at like this, and I'd be like kind of crouched down somewhere, and I'd call things out to her. I never did it to Christian. I would come over, I always whisper to everyone so everyone else doesn't know. And I'd whisper, and then one day he was like, Maggie, can you yell at me too? And I was like, yeah, okay. And then I did. I started like, and not always, and there's times when no one else can know what you're saying, and it's not for anyone else to know. Yeah. And then there's other times where you're like, it doesn't matter. Everyone's doing their job. We're doing our job, and I'm just talking to you, and that's one of my favorite parts.
Just like conducting almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you do that?
It's a habit that's very hard for me to break. I was taught not to, but I will do it. Like if the actor asks for it, At school, I was taught to always one-on-one, always in private
Yeah.
with the actor.
Yeah.
To you know, and that's what I'll do.
Yeah.
Until they'll say, hey, just call it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, or keep it rolling. And they'll tell you what they need.
Yeah.
Especially the super experienced ones.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is, I think you're right. Like, I do think that's a good tenet of like just between us, whisper in your ear.
Yeah, as a base.
Right.
Yeah.
But then, like, you know how they tell you in 3rd grade or something, like, don't start a sentence with and. But you're like, you can.
Break that. Yeah.
You know? Like,
Totally.
if you're with, like, and that you trust each other and you respect each other and you love each other, well, then, you know.
But I also think, like, for you, like, I'm not an actor. Like, people know you can act. Like, they know you do this. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they've seen your work. So it's like, I think it's a different thing. Right. You know, like, if I have somebody come to set, maybe they're an executive now or they're in a producerial position, but they've directed before. Right. Or they've AD'd before. Right. You know what I mean? And they say, hey, they can, it's a thing with me where it's like, all right. Right. I'm gonna hear what you're saying differently. Not that I wouldn't listen to somebody else. I listen to everybody. Right, same. The movie's for everybody. But I'm gonna hear, you know, I'm gonna hear what you say just a little bit different.
But I also think people also know you can direct. So like in the same way, it's like as an actor, you're like, there are so few people. It's such a hard job, you know, that like when someone can do it well, you're like, I'm giving you my heart, I'm giving you my trust, like just bring it. And we'll do as best we can, you know, to figure out how to make this real.
How did you direct your brother?
Oh.
Like, now that we talked about these directing styles, like what was that like? Was this the first time you directed him?
So interesting, yeah. Well, I guess I think, first of all, I really think, do you know my brother?
Of course.
Okay, good.
Oh, yeah.
I just was like, I feel like you guys would really like each other.
Oh, I love him. Yeah, I don't get to see him as much as I would like, but yeah, like when I do is, when we do text, it's great.
I could just see that. I didn't know that, but I can see that. Listen, honestly, I think it all has to do with love, you know, and I do really love him, and you know, so. I mean, Jake in the movie, he's so great in the movie. He was so funny on set. And there's not as much comedy of him in the movie, but I was laughing so hard, like tears were streaming down my face at the monitor. And I love him. I also respect him so much. And so how did I direct him? I just was like, it was just such a pleasure. Like, come over and whisper things. I had tears still coming down my face, you know?
Like, I'm tight with my little brothers, and I worked with them before.
Oh, really?
So I just seemed like a dream.
Is your athlete past like a part of your work? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. How?
Man, wow. Yeah, all of the things I learned in my previous career, like I apply them to this like every day. I learn a lot about, you learn a lot about yourself playing football, you know, crashing into people laying off of passes, I've been knocked unconscious, you know what I mean, broken things.
Right.
And what I learned is you know, is like I'm a rhythm person. You know, like I would have games where I would come out on the field and I would know whether I was gonna have a big game or not so big a game within the first few plays.
Really?
Yeah.
And it couldn't shift?
That's the thing. I had to learn how to make it shift. Right. Like when I got on scholarship, I was like, yo, this can't work. And I never mastered it in football, but I think I figured it out with filmmaking. You know?
I think that's very much like acting, actually. I know that feeling actually as an actor, but then also I've applied it to a director because I started as an actress. So this is almost like it's the things I've learned as an actress absolutely inform my work as a director. But this thing of like, if you start off or if the rhythm is off, that can be, I think, the opportunity, like if you just let that be the case for something even more exciting and alive and interesting to happen. Like if you stop for a second and go like, whew, something is happening here, you know, what is it? Something bubbles up usually that's valuable.
Yeah, that was the lesson for me. Like, was because what I would do is I would fight through it. You know what I mean? But instead of acknowledging it, even though I knew it, like I would try to. But
but you were so young.
Yeah. But I mean, it's a thing. Like, so for me now, I'm like, all right, I gotta do, you know, what I can to make sure I'm in rhythm. And if I'm out of rhythm, I gotta acknowledge it.
Right.
And either take a break or you know, use it as an opportunity to work on.
Right, to get into some weird thing that's making you be out of rhythm.
Exactly.
And put it in the work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Thinking about coming here, I rewatched the like tutorial that you gave about aspect ratio, and I was like, damn, I gotta like prep because I learned so much technically making this movie. I mean, if you look at The Last Daughter, I had an incredible cinematographer, Helene Lubart. We made a choice together. That was obviously not IMAX. There's no changing aspect ratio in that movie.
Right.
I learned so much from her. It was as if I thought when I started to make that movie, I thought, I don't know about camera, I don't know about the visuals, I do know about actors, I do know about storytelling, I've lived my life telling stories this way. And then I realized when I started to work with her and prep with her, I was like, no, I not only do I really care about this, really care about this, I care about light, I care about framing, I care about lenses. I just didn't know what they were called. So I learned a lot there, but then coming to this movie, totally different scope, with Larry Sher as my cinematographer, I really felt like I was in a kind of wild school. And I was thinking about it, I called him today and I was like, what was the name of that camera that we used to shoot the chase sequence at night? Because I want to talk about it today. And he's like, FX3, right, FX3, you know, and
so y'all were predominantly Sony, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, Venice.
We used the Sony, Venice 2, and we used a couple other things. We had a Phantom.
The Phantom for the stairs?
No, that was not. It was something else.
Red Raptor?
Raptor.
Oh, the Red Raptor, okay.
Yes. And then there's like this, I love the shot of her in black and white where she kind of like arches her back during the reinvigoration. That's the Phantom. I'm newer at the technical stuff, but so thrilled by it. And when I called Larry to ask the name of that camera, he had just been talking to American Cinematography, and he said he was saying about me that I'm like really excited to learn, but I'm not excited to learn about everything.
Right, I got you.
I don't know how to put the timer on the thing for the espresso maker in my house, like whatever.
Okay.
I don't know how to like make the coffee be hot at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
But there are things I want to learn about, and like this is one of them. I feel like it's like I learned Italian.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about it.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, no, for sure. So for folks watching at home, we just rattled off a bunch of cameras. So the Sony Venice is like Sony's, you know, they flagship cinema camera, large format, high definition camera using all of the top tier cine lenses, and you shot on the Venice 2, which is the newest camera body.
So I think that the main reason why we went with that camera was because we shot both anamorphic
and spherical.
Exactly. And we did that, and we can get into the IMAX stuff, because we needed to shoot spherical in order to have the space to grow vertically.
Yep.
We also loved the anamorphic lenses.
Yep.
And so the honest truth is there were places where we changed our mind in the edit, and we had to center punch the anamorphic lenses
to get it to cut with your spherical.
To have it be a place where we jump to 1.0.
Oh, we can go to 1.0.
1.43.
Gotcha.
But the Sony Venice 2, you can shoot beautifully with both anamorphic and spherical.
Massive sensor.
Yes.
Yeah, and great color rendition. Yeah.
And dark blacks.
Yes.
You know, you can and you can shoot in the dark. beautifully with the Sony Ms. too. So I don't know. So that was why I think we went mainly with that camera.
Yeah. For those who are not as technical, myself included, because we did have you sit with your cinematographer in Sinners, Autumn, Gerald Archipel.
I want to see that.
Yeah, I highly recommend. We'll drop the link below. What I really loved, because you guys got technical about that, very similar to what you guys are doing here, but she talked about how you guys started from a place of emotion. Like that's what dictated a lot of the visuals. And I wonder if you could start there too, like your decisions to shoot, for IMAX and use these different cameras and lenses. What was it in your story or your film that you wanted to, project on such a big screen and big format?
Absolutely everything for me is based on something, kind of an emotional storytelling. So I think you could say, okay, The Bride is about this, and they go here, and they go here, and they go here, and they go here, and this happens. But really, there's a whole nother story underneath those basic plot points that is tiny embroidery shifts of emotion between the people on the screen. And that's really what motivates all of the plot points in the entire movie. So I didn't know anything about IMAX. And Warner Brothers came to me and said, we're making this big movie in this big scope, and we really want you to consider.
Wait, you were in The Dark Knight, though.
I know. I think that was like one of the only movies I'd ever seen in IMAX.
You can't say that to me. Cause I went to see The Dark Knight like 4 a.m. in IMAX, and you killed it in that movie. So I'm like, I don't know anything. I'm like, wait, hold on.
I watched it at Lincoln Square in IMAX at the premiere, and I had no idea we were shooting that. I had no idea what was happening when I was on the set with it. I had no idea.
Do you remember it being loud, like the camera being loud?
That's an interesting question, because I've thought about that since. Not really. I do remember I did 0 ADR.
Bro, you're blowing my mind right now.
So I didn't even know. I was like, okay, well, again, kind of like the way I thought I felt about lenses and lighting and cameras and aspect ratios when I started The Lost Daughter. I thought, I don't know, I don't really care about IMAX. And then I came to care deeply about it. I stopped you at that gala event thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I had just come from my IMAX.
Tesh.
Yes, that day.
I remember that.
And I was like,
you were,
yeah.
It's a euphoric feeling. Watching images that big.
Yeah.
But also when it's your own images, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Because when you working as a director, I don't know what your process is like. It's very clear you are technical, but you also are an actor's director as well, right? That's very clear from Lost Daughter to this. Even if you are looking at the monitor, it's small. It can only be so big on set, right? And it can only be so big in editorial.
Yeah.
So when you see your work on IMAX,
it's amazing.
It's crazy, right?
It's amazing. And I was even looking at that thing you did, the explanation of the aspect ratios and the different ways of seeing the movie, where you look at your own frame and then you show the expansion so that you can see what it is that we're offering.
Yes.
First of all, you asked me how, what was motivating the kind of IMAX changes. Because I had no point of reference, even though I saw The Dark Knight in IMAX with changing aspect ratios, I didn't know what I was watching. So they asked me to do it, and I didn't know the form. So I just imagined it myself. Larry and I, Larry had worked on Joker with IMAX changes and stuff, but he explained so much to me, and then I just imagined it. And so I think the way we used it, at least the IMAX guys told me, it's unusual.
Right.
But like you said, the vertical expansion is motivated by something emotional, something in the story. It's not. I mean, actually, I was trying to remember if that FX3 car chase expands to 143, or if it's just 190. I don't even think we did expand it because it wasn't the place to expand. Right. In the movie, there's lots of magic And there's times where we go into a character's mind, and almost always we do full expansion there. Well, one thing I am interested in, I know other people have done it, but I got interested in going as slowly as I could with like the actual animating of the expansion. Do you do that? Or you pop?
So in Sinners, we both cut to expanded ratios and animated it.
Yeah.
We would decide based on what was happening when.
Yeah.
But we didn't you know, our expansion timing was really like based on the music.
Yeah.
Because it was you know, the movie kind of a stealth musical. So you guys were playing with experimenting, seeing how slow you could do it.
Sometimes overcuts.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah.
I actually have so many thoughts about all of these things. Like if you, what can you do? You know what I mean? Like so I think that maybe hadn't been done. I didn't know it hadn't been done. It was just that when you're watching the IMAX version, you're like, no, actually, in order to make this have the impact it needs to have, both because of music and just because of cutting, like it would be better to start the expansion here. We make the cut, he's coming around her. I'm thinking of like one of Frank's fantasies of dancing, and it's just better, you can just feel it, it's just better when it's slower, and then we cut and it's still happening, The weirdest one though that we did, in the very beginning, we start in 1/4/3. If you can be in 1/4/3, the movie starts there. And you can't totally feel it because it's black. It's Mary Shelley and it's black around her. But then we cut to the restaurant scene with Ida, which was shot widescreen, anamorphic. We didn't have anything to expand with. So we actually, instead of growing, we shrink the Mary Shelley 1/4/3 stuff down to because there's a dissolve. So over the dissolve, we shrink down to the 239.
I mean, that's what's so exciting about like different people embracing this technology, and bringing our own idiosyncrasies to it.
Right,
You know,
experience.
Yes, but I love that. Like I love that. You know, you were falling in love with this technology while you were being introduced to it.
That's true.
You know, like I fell in love with it when I saw your movie, right? So I'm like, you know, it was a goal for me. That was distant. I don't know if I'll ever get a chance to do it. But in this circumstance for you, it's like, you know, you it's an opportunity, and you're embracing it kind of like as you learn about it. Like I love that, and that leads to things that are happening for what sounds like for the first time. You know what I mean? Like I'm listening to these cuts, these expansions over cuts.
Right.
You know, it's just awesome, and I think that's so awesome for the audience. I think, you know what I mean, like to get new experiences. Prox Recs.
Yes, so before we go, we like to ask our guests to provide a Prox Rec or a recommendation for our audience to kind of come away with after they watch this episode. It could be anything. It could be, you know, a movie, a book, a TV show, a podcast, something that inspires you in your work as a writer-director.
It could be anything.
Anything.
Like you know, but yeah, if it's on theme, that's great.
Well, I was thinking that I didn't do it on purpose. I just found myself doing it a couple of times, and I realized before I started work on projects, I, without even meaning to, would watch Silkwood, the Mike Nichols movie.
Oh.
I was like that. And then I realized this is the third time I've seen Silkwood. Wow, it's every time before I'm about to start acting in something. And I just think it's so alive, you know? Like really inspiring.
Man, for me a long time, it was a Prophet for me. Like I would watch a Prophet.
Jake too.
We talked about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, me and him talked. You just reminded me, man. But yeah, I would watch that right before I made something. This movie was the first time I didn't do that.
Right.
Yeah, this movie I watched. I think it was because it was a horror movie. In some respects, I was like, I'm gonna watch some other things. But you know, I identify with that for sure. my record's gonna be Lost Daughter.
There you go.
Yeah, that's my
Great
record. So we here talking about The Bride, but
We'll recommend both.
yeah,
but maybe
recommend
watch
both.
one,
But
The Lost Daughter
they
before
can
The
watch,
Bride.
They can watch Lost Daughter when this episode drops.
There you go.
Lost Daughter is exceptional. So I feel like you got similar to what you're doing in The Bride, but you got all of these actors like giving like what I think is like career bests at the time. You know what I mean? Like in concert with each other. I just believed all of them, and it's a great what you call it, like a taster or a moose bouche for the bride.
There you go.
Get them ready.
appetizer.
Yeah, get them ready for the bride, because you got the multiple narratives and you know, so much perspective on social contracts. You know, the gendered social contracts. You know, all of that's there. So just keep doing what you're doing. Congratulations on this one.
Thank you both for being in
Thanks,
proximity.
Paula.
Cheers to you all.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for the coffee.
In Proximity is a production of Proximity Media. The show is hosted, directed, and produced by Paola Mardo. Executive producers are Ryan Coogler, Zinzi Coogler, and Sev Ohanian. Theme song and additional music is by Ludwig Göransson. Patrick Apino is our co-director and director of photography. Ken Nana is our sound designer and mix engineer. This episode was edited by Patrick Apino. The production team includes Celine Mendiola, Joy Wu, and Alexandria Santana. Follow us on social media at Proximity Media. For transcripts and more information, head to proximitymedia.com.